My name is Martha Brock. I was born in 1942, and I was born in Lincoln at the Mott Clinic, and I have lived in Cane Hill most of my life. I started to the first grade at Cane Hill School, and I've just had a pretty good life in Cane Hill. I have really good memories. We had the most fun. I can remember going to school. Before I started school, my sisters would take me as a special treat as a guest. They were in high school and they would take me, and I'd get to have the day in school, and I thought it was just wonderful. When I started to the first grade, they had two long tables that was full of books, and my sisters had read to me real often, but they never read to me enough, and I could hardly wait to get to learn to read. And I can remember looking at those tables and thinking, someday I can read every word. I had the neatest parents. Mama was born around here. I really don't know where she was born now that you're asking me, but around here very close. Her family was from here. Her dad was Robert Louis Collins. Actually, I just remembered she was born in Jim community over on the other side of Lincoln, right close to where we're sitting right now. This was, I believe this was the bank, and in back of it was my sister and her husband had a cafe, had a restaurant. And Vicki Banks, my best friend, lived right up the hill here. And I had come to visit Dorothy and Ernest for the day. Vicki came down, and the next thing you know, we were playing out there in that field. And I think we were about 3 years old. Going to school in Cane Hill, it was hard because our teachers expected you to listen. Our teachers expected you to learn. We had one very strict teacher, Mrs. Finley. A lot of people will remember her. You better learn if Miss Finley was your teacher. But overall, it was just common sense. You used good manners. You spoke politely to your teachers. You minded, but you were only kids. And we had a big cloakroom in the back of our classrooms. So if you had a secret that had to be told, you would signal to your friend, and both of you would sneak to the cloakroom, not believing that teachers even knew where you were. So we'd have our little talk, tell our secrets, fool around as long as we dared, and then come sneaking out. It was not your usual school classroom. And she didn't teach me sweetly. If you would be taught, if you were in the classroom and there was 4 classes in the room, and she would be teaching one class, and you were talking and fooling around on the other side of the room, all of a sudden she would take an eraser and bing, right on top of the head. So, she was not Miss Sweetheart, but she was a teacher. Then there was Miss Pridemore. Miss Pridemore was a great teacher. She was friendly, she was fun, and she taught us. Well, Shaker Yates, he had the post office, and his daughter was Sharon. Sharon and Vicki were my best friends. Vicki was her cousin. Sharon Yates was one of my best friends. Shaker owned the store and the post office. And I just thought it was a wonderful place. It was big. It had a cement floor. It was cool. And I would get to come with Daddy to get the mail, do stuff. And you would get an ice cream cone. You get a bottle of pop and RC Cola for just 5 cents. And they had their loafers bench that would be sitting there telling tales, and it was just a bunch of farmer guys, and you could sit and listen to them if you wanted to, but you better be quiet. And Shaker had a feed store in the back of the regular general store type store, and it had all kinds of feed with sacks. Everybody used those sacks to make their school clothes with. The women would go back and they'd go with their husband to pick out the feed, dairy feed, chicken feed, that sort of thing. And she'd pick out the material that she wanted to make her dresses with. So we all went to school with feed store sack clothes. And most of the women could sew well, and we all had about the same thing. We were all pretty happy. I never felt like I was being poor because I was wearing feed-sack clothes. I was glad to get a new dress. Vicky's mother worked at the factory, and they would buy store-bought clothes a lot. And her grandmother was like a seamstress. Granny could make anything. And Vicky always had beautiful clothes. So did Sharon. They both had beautiful clothes. But like I said, I never felt like I was being downtrodden or without. I lived on a farm. My mom and dad worked hard. Mom was at home. She churned butter. She cooked, made fried chicken. We had sweet tea. You heard of Southern sweet tea? Man, we had the best Southern sweet tea. We did what was asked of us to do. Mike and I were the youngest of 5 kids. The 3 oldest did a lot. They milked cows. They helped feed chickens. They did a lot of adult work because Daddy worked out. And it was a farm, and there was heavy work. But Mike and I, we really had it pretty easy. Mom would teach me to cook. I'd be sitting in the kitchen while she cooked. I would help wash the dishes. Mike, I can't remember what he did. We did everything. We played in the woods. We played in the creek. Outside the door here, there's a creek that runs through Cane Hill. We went swimming. We'd sneak over there, of course. I'd come down to the store with Daddy to get the mail. Vicki and Sharon would be here. Mike, Russell, Dwayne, Pyatt. We'd pretty soon all get together and we'd just be going to go over to the creek and wade a little bit. Well, guess what? One long till we was wet to our necks. And we played till Daddy got ready to go home. He never, well, come on, let's go. We didn't get in trouble. But one time I lost my balance. And luckily, my sister from Texas, my sister and her husband from Texas was here. I lost my balance. I went under. Couldn't swim with a hoot. I thought I was drowning. And George had to jump in these good clothes and drag me out. So we played like any kids, except we played with the things of nature and our own games and just enjoyed being together. No, they did lots of things. PTA was a big social gathering. They would have the meetings, usually at night. Everybody would bring refreshments. They'd have their business, and then it would be a social time. And the adults would have a good time talking. The kids would be outside playing in the dark, running all across the Cane Hill campus. We didn't get hurt. We were running in the dark. There was trees and rocks, and we didn't get hurt. But they also played rook. Rook parties was a big deal. Mom and Dad loved to go to the rook parties, and there'd be a rook party at the school in the summertime, like, I don't know, every 2 or 3 weeks, and everybody would bring their refreshments, and they'd play rook, and the kids would play outside. My mama did. They would take their corn. Now, it might have been wheat too, but I always took it for granted that it was corn, and they would take it and have it ground there. They would go on a wagon, of course, back in that time, and they'd take their corn, have it ground, and have it sacked up and bring it home and use it for that year. Well, our 8th grade graduation was really special. Before the graduation, Lincoln invited the 8th graders to go to a banquet at school. Vicki and I were the only 2 that went from Cane Hill. We both had new dresses. We both thought we were beautiful. And we got acquainted with the Lincoln kids we'd be going to school with the next year. And we also went to the high school and watched the seniors practicing to graduate. Now here's a story I've told lots of times and love to tell it. We, the Cane Hill kids, the Ween School, the grade school kids, Morrow, I can't remember, Cane Hill, Evansville kids, were up in the bleachers watching the seniors practice. And the cutest, handsomest, black-headed boy was practicing to walk down the aisle. Black hair, curly hair, and he was, as usual, being pretty ornery. He was out of line. They were telling him, stand up, walk over here, and do that. It was Johnny. He didn't know it, but I had my eye on him even then.